The pastor who's going to give our morning prayer is on his way in the door. We're waiting momentarily for that, so please stand by. Senators, please indicate your presence for a quorum. The quorum being present, the Senate will come to order, please. The members of the Senate will please rise for the morning invocation if we can be joined by our guest in the gallery. Senators, this morning we have for our invocation Pastor J.T. Johnson of the Homestead Church of God, sponsored by Senator Soto. As you're well aware, this weekend Senator McPherson lost his son, Thomas Jr. There'll be a memorial service at 3:30 this afternoon at the Alfred McClay Gardens, and anyone who wishes to attend, the indications of where it is and how to get there is in today's calendar. Please join us in a moment of silence to be followed for Senator McPherson's son, to be followed by the morning invocation.
Lord God, creator of all that is, in whom we live and move and have our being, and from whom the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is given. May your sovereignty and providence be acknowledged in each heart this day, and may the weighty mantle of power, now bearing ever so gravid upon the shoulders of these elected public servants, carry with it the sobering, unenviable awareness that to whom much is given, much is required. We take time to honor the passing, untimely, of Tom McPherson Jr. We pray that your spirit will be a special source of strength, encouragement, and wisdom to his father, who has been elected by the good people in Broward County to come and represent their interests as well as the interests of the citizens of the state of Florida as a whole. Now, Lord, may the legislation here enacted provide protection, justice, and a proper sense of proportion in their function of what citizens ought and ought not do. Justice, because without it, society becomes a seething cauldron of vengeance-seeking and hatred. Protection, because without it, our society becomes a concrete barbaric jungle where the meanest and most heartless survive. a sense of protection, because without it, injustice proliferates and human life is cheapened. And these things we pray in the Lord of Lords, the Prince of Peace name. Amen.
Senator Scott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning we have the pleasure of making a presentation to one of our own senators, Senator George Kirkpatrick, who was awarded the Charles Dick Medal of Merit at the National Guard Association of the United States 111th General Conference in Detroit, Michigan on September 21st, 1989. Senator Kirkpatrick was one of only 3 in the United States to receive this most prestigious award. This morning we have some visitors that are in the chamber with us that I'd like to introduce at this time. We have Major General Robert F. Enslin, Jr., Adjutant General of the Florida Army National Guard. We have Brigadier General Richard G. Capps, Assistant Adjutant General. We have Brigadier General James C. Reineman, Jr., Commander, 53rd Signal Brigade. Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Connor, State Quartermaster. Captain David Blevins, Aide. At this time, I'd like to request Senator Kirkpatrick to join us, along with our guest, to the rostrum for presentation. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Good morning. How are you? How are you? What about me? I know, just to make it sound. Good morning. How you want to do this? You want to?
I have some remarks,
Please,
if I may.
please.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, it's a privilege for me as Adjutant General of Florida and Vice President of the National Guard Association of the United States to address the Senate and recognize one of your members, Senator George Kirkpatrick. The National Guard Association, at its national conference in Detroit last October, announced the selection of Senator Kirkpatrick to receive the Charles Dick Medal of Merit and charged me to see that it was appropriately presented in recognition of his contributions to the Florida National Guard. Charles Dick was a United States Senator from Ohio who was also a Major General in the Ohio Militia. A veteran of service in the Spanish-American War, General Dick saw the need for the establishment of standards of training and performance for the militia and the provision of federal funds to equip and train the force. He sponsored the Dick Act of 1903, which effectively gave birth to the modern National Guard. General Dick also served as President of the National Guard Association of the United States from 1902 until 1909. The Florida National Guard has enjoyed unprecedented growth over the past 8 years, increasing by over 4,000 in authorized strength while maintaining 100% in assigned strength. One of the key reasons that the state of Florida has been given more new force structure than any other state during this period of time has been the outstanding support given to the Florida Guard by our legislature. And I would like to remind the members that the annual Legislative Appreciation Night is tonight at the National Guard Armory, and that will be from 6 to 9, and we invite you to enjoy some of our well-known Apalachicola Bay seafood. A real leader in the legislature's splendid support of the Florida Guard has been Senator Kirkpatrick, and the National Guard Association, by the presentation of the Charles Dick Medal of Merit, wishes to recognize that support. The Medal of Merit is a gold medal with Senator Kirkpatrick's name engraved on the obverse side. It's my pleasure on behalf of the National Guard Association to present it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to also at this time recognize Senator Peterson.
Mr. President, I want to introduce the doctor of the day, Dr. John Glotfelty from Lakeland.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Dr. Glotfeldy, nice to have you with us. Senator Peterson and I both claim you as our constituent, so it's nice to have you here. It's time I'd like to recognize Senator Walker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move that the rules be waived and Senate Resolution 1892 be withdrawn from the Committee of Rules and Calendar and taken up in Stanner.
Nice to have your original voice back this morning, Senator Walker. I think you've heard the motion by Senator Walker. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show that motion passing. The Secretary will read the resolution in full.
Senate Resolution Number 1892, a resolution honoring Mrs. Lassie Goodbread Black of Lake City for her achievements in her lifetime of contribution to her city, county, and state. Whereas Lassie Goodbread Black, a native of Lake City and the wife of Arthur Keith Black, has dedicated over 50 years to the maintenance and improvement of Lake City and Columbia County. And whereas over the years, Lassie has freely given of her time and talents to many civic organizations, including 20 years as a Girl Scout troop leader, 10 years as a leader of the 4-H Club, the Columbia County Democratic Executive Committee, the American Legion Auxiliary, the Lake City Garden Club, the Board of Directors of the Boys Clubs of America, and the Daughters of the American Revolution, and many other organizations. And whereas after attending the Florida State College for Women for 2.5 years, Lassie became the first woman to enroll at the University of Florida when it became coeducational in 1925. And she was graduated from the College of Agriculture in 1940 and later received a master's degree from Emory University. And whereas Mrs. Black has twice been selected as the Woodman of the World's Woman of the Year, was chosen as Mother of the Year in the state in 1961, and has been honored by the Lake City and Columbia County Chamber of Commerce and the 4-H Foundation. And whereas Ms. Black has organized and conducted educational tours to places all over the world, and whereas Ms. Black and her husband raised 3 daughters, Carolyn, Nettie, and Edna, all of whom were graduated from state universities, and has 5 granddaughters who are also graduates of state universities. And whereas Ms. Black, who becomes 86 years old this year, is still actively working to improve her community, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the State of Florida that the Senate honors and commends Ms. Lassie Goodbread Black for her tireless service to her community and this state. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution affixed with the seal of the Senate be presented to Mrs. Black as a token of the respect and appreciation of the members of this body. Reading of the resolution, Mr. President.
Senator Walker.
Yes, Senators, if I could have your attention for a moment, I promise not to disappoint you with this lovely lady that I intend on presenting to this body of my colleagues today. Miss Lassie Goodbread Black is the type of individual who, unlike ourselves who chose to serve in the public arena, chose to serve her community in a private way, but in a very committed way. She is one of those folks who's responsible for seeing that the laws that we pass up here become implemented at the community level, and I think that most of us will understand that many laws are not, we don't have the magic to make a difference, but it takes those community citizens who are dedicated to see that they do become implemented for the best of the citizenry of the state. I'd like to tell you a little story about Miss Black. I'm particularly proud of her because she is the first woman to attend the University of Florida once it became coeducational. And so they think that we in North Florida don't have a high significance on education, but we have the claim to fame at the University of Florida, and I'm very particularly proud of that. I'd also like to tell you how she got to the University of Florida because you'd be very happy to know. Years ago, Miss Black married Mr. A.K. Black. And for all of us women who are unmarried, Mr. Black is the type of man that we would all be lucky enough to find one day. And the reason for that is when he married Miss Black, he married her promising her parents that he would see that she got a college education. That was a condition of her marriage. That's very progressive. So he told her parents that yes, that she would get a college education. She in turn went to the University of Florida to enroll, and when she got there, somebody in the administration told her that she couldn't go because girls was not permitted to go. So she was just devastated, and she went home, and she was very tearful, and she said, AK, I was told that girls couldn't go to school. And he said, well, we'll see about that. You go get on the car. So he put her on the car and went over there, and he had a friend in the administration, and he said, I married her under the condition that she go to school, and they told her girls couldn't go. And Senator Davis, you'd be happy to know, Mr. Black, because you always fight for women's rights. And he said, girls are going to go. This is a condition of my marriage to her. And so she was enrolled, she did attend, and she was the third graduate at the University of Florida. Is that correct, Mr. Black? Third female graduate. And Mr. President, it has a lot of significance for you because as the next Commissioner of Agriculture, you will know that she was the first female student enrolled in agriculture. So I guess you know that I'm a fan of Lassie Black's, and it is with great pleasure that I have her today. And Miss Black, would you please start coming forward here? She will be celebrating her 86th birthday this year. And she is just really a great asset to the state of Florida, and in particular North Florida. And we are very proud of you in our community, and I'm very proud to have known you and to become friends with you. And would you like to say a couple of words?
In a couple of words, I can only say that I think we are honored to have Sherry Walker in our House of Representatives, in our Senate. We're proud of you, Sherry. We think she speaks for women and men and our counties and our state, and we're proud of Sherry Walker.
Thank you, Mrs. Black.
Now that we've had our mutual fan club meeting this morning, we will say that Miss Black, we're going to go up to the rostrum for a nice picture. And also with Miss Black today is her daughter, Miss Nettie Ozaki, her sister, Miss Thelma Flanagan, and also to my right side here, we have some very good friends, and if you will stand up, Mr. Harry and Pauline Jamerson, and I think we also may have some grandchildren of Miss Black. If they're here, if they will stand up. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Senator Walker. While Senator Walker escorts Mrs. Black on the reading of the resolution, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show the resolution passing. Senators, it's my pleasure this morning to invite to the rostrum a member of Congress that has served this state for many, many years in a very distinguished capacity. He currently is chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee, making him one of the most influential people in the world. It's an honor that we have a congressman from this great state that is representing us so distinguishedly. We have Donnie Fasell, Congressman Donnie Fasell.
Mr. President and distinguished members of the Senate, I'm honored to be here, and I very much appreciate the invitation to share this floor. Let me first extend my condolences to Senator McPherson as one who lost his son in a tragic accident. I certainly can empathize and sympathize, and I extend my deepest condolences to him and his family, and I'm sure all of us who at some time or another have shared in the tragedy do the same. And I trust that sharing of the grief with his friends and comrades and family will ease his burden, bringing some solace in the future. On a lighter note, Mr. President, let me say it's been a long time since I was in these august chambers over on the other side in the old building. And I went down the line of distinguished presidents, of which you are one, to see how far back I could go. And I want to tell you that it's a great honor to be up here with the president as a hurricane. Now, he and I share that, all right? And when I came up here in 1947 as a hurricane, I had to be specially escorted with a guard and a special passport to get into Tallahassee. Things have really changed and improved, thank goodness. But it's wonderful to see and share with you the work that you are doing and to carry on. And I see so many friends who are here and delighted to meet some new ones. Today is, among other things, is the anniversary of the Bay of Pigs. And commemorating the courage and the valor of the people who fought for freedom in Cuba and other places is a worthy objective, Mr. President. And we should recognize it, and I trust and I'm sure that the legislature of Florida does and will. And the big question mark, of course, is what happens next? Well, I think the pressure is so great on Mr. Castro that it won't be too long. The whole world is changing, and he wants to be an anomaly in a world that is changing. I don't think that will last too long. I certainly hope not. We need freedom, self-determination in Cuba, and one day we certainly will have it. Even in Nicaragua, with the Sandinistas being defeated in elections, shows the determination of people all over. San Salvador, 3 times, with a great percentage of people going to the polls and deciding what kind of government they wanted, and they, even under the threat of death and guns, they would not be deterred. Now, what that tells us is this, that despite all of the strengths of the United States as a superpower, or the Soviets as a superpower, that the real value are those things that sometimes we take for granted. We don't do that here, I know. But it is the strength of the values of the democratic process that speaks louder than anything else around the world. Anywhere I've been, it is the one thing that people point to, they yearn for, and they act for, and they're willing to die for. And if we look at the tremendous changes that are taking place in Eastern Europe right now, who would have thought just a little short time ago that that would have been possible, and that such a change under the leadership of Gorbachev in the Soviet Union would make it possible for us to think of one time of a liberated Eastern Europe, a change in the Soviet system, a reduction in the confrontation that faces all of us, and an opportunity perhaps to get on with a better world and a better life here in Florida and around the world, and I certainly hope so. It is a great opportunity for us. It's an opportunity which the American people cannot afford to miss. We have to, this is a real challenge for us, both in the Congress and the Florida legislature and around the country. I'm delighted, of course, to see that this is International Business Day for that reason, and that the legislature of Florida will once again take leadership in moving forward in this century by perhaps considering and acting upon legislation which would put Florida in the forefront in the consideration of international business as a very important part of our economic life and our well-being. And I can assure you right now that that is the case. Believe me, Florida is taking the lead. We're very proud of that fact. And the one thing today that will make the difference is the role and the place that the United States will take in the international economic community. We can't think only in terms of a redesigned Marshall Plan, or making available bundles of money. We're talking about real economic involvement by our own business community, and with states taking the lead like Florida wishes to take, will make a big difference, both not only for Florida, but certainly for the country. And I hope other states will emulate this. The competition is keen. I'll tell you this, we're being left behind by other powers who see the economic opportunity, who are not afraid to move in there. Their business, their governments are working hand in hand because they want the economic opportunity. They see the marketplace. They're going to seize the marketplace. This is a real live competition. It has to do with our future well-being in the United States and Florida. And so both the celebration of International Business Days and the legislation itself, in my judgment, is a big step towards not only helping Florida, but helping the United States of America in this future that we see out there, but it's not yet in our grasp. Now, we all have one problem, Mr. President, and that problem is a simple one, and yet it's a vexing one. We can't do what we want to do. We seem not to be able to do what we want to do because we want to drive Cadillacs, but we don't want to pay for them. In terms of services and infrastructure and services to the people of this country, I don't know how we solve that problem. Shorthandedly, let me just say there is no money. In Washington, we have the same problem you're having here in the legislature. How that's going to be resolved, I have no idea. I would hate to be chairman of the Appropriations Committee at this point in time trying to make the judgments that are going to be made, and I know they will be made logically, rationally, and with great determination and strength because I know Jack Gordon. But nevertheless, it's still a tough responsibility on every senator. And we have that same problem. There's no largesse in Washington. There's no magic answer. You can't wave a wand and say just we're $2 billion behind in road programs in Florida. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's assume that it is. You can't do anything about roads unless you spend the money to build the roads. If our education program is 35th or 36th and we want to improve it, we're going to have to spend the money to do it. Believe me, we've got that same problem at the Washington level. I have been fussing, for example, in the education level, saying that the federal contribution is not enough. You can't just get by with 7% of contribution to the total cost of education and think that it's going to be adequate. And that's also true whether it's on social services, on health, on improving the life of people in ghettos, or dealing with crime or drugs or whatever the problem is. And our shortfall is a lot greater than yours, and yours is staggering. So we have a great deal in common. I cannot do anything except compliment all of you who have made a decision and a commitment to public life, dedicated to the proposition of trying to improve our state and our country. And so it's a great pleasure for me as a colleague to have had this short opportunity to get reacquainted, to get acquainted, to see some of the old-timers still hanging around, still working, like Pat over here, and still trying to do their best. So I leave the Senate of the state of Florida with a great feeling of sympathy and understanding and of love, and I thank you for the honor of giving me these few moments to exchange ideas with you. Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you very much. Very nice words. Okay. I appreciate that. Come back and see us. Thank you, Congressman. This time I'd like to recognize Senator Kaiser for the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move that the rules be waived and Senate Resolution 2998 be introduced out of order and taken up in standard. This is an honor in commemorating the Florida Association of Realtors and Realtor Bobby Bird.
You've heard the motion by Senator Kaiser. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show the motion passing. Senator Kaiser.
I'd like to waive the rules, Mr. President, and read the resolution a second time by title.
Without objection, show that motion passing. Senator Kaiser.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senators. You know, many times here on the floor of the Senate, when we recognize various groups and associations and individuals, many times those people are just slightly known by us. They're acquaintances or people that we've run across in our political and community lives, you know, a time or two, so that we're or at least familiar with those people. But that's not the case today, fellow senators. Mr. Byrd, who's up here, has been a good friend of mine and a good friend of the legislature. He's been very, very active in the Association of Realtors down in the Clearwater area. He's been very much involved in our community, very much involved in the Realtors Political Action Committee. He gets very involved down home in all of the governmental activities and the candidates running for office. And Mr. Byrd, I really couldn't think of a better representative, Mr. President and Senators, to be up here today as the president of the Florida Association of Realtors. Bobby's a good friend of mine. I guess about 10, 12 years ago, I bought a little office building off of his wife as an associate of his. And so I've known the man for quite some time. And he also has impeccable taste when it comes to choosing college football teams, Mr. President. And with that, I would like to have Mr. Byrd and myself come to the rostrum for some pictures, etc.
Great. Senator Kaiser, if you would escort Mr. Byrd to the rostrum, and the reading clerk will read the resolution by title twice.
Senate Resolution Number 2998, a resolution commending the Florida Association of Realtors and Robert W. Byrd.
Without objection, read it again.
Senate Resolution Number 2998, a resolution commending the Florida Association of Realtors and Robert W. Byrd.
All right, on the resolution, you've heard the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Show it passing. And Senator Kaiser points out that Mr. Byrd actually is a Seminole. He wanted his plug in since the Hurricanes had such nice plugs. Is Senator Weinstein ready? Senator Weinstein is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would move that we that the rules be waived and we take up Senate Resolution 2964, honoring Margate Mayor Leonard Weisinger.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show it passing. Senator Weinstein.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a resolution honoring the mayor of Margate, who is the president of the Broward League of Cities, honoring him for the work he's performed on behalf of the people in Broward County and the League of Cities, and certainly deserves the recognition of the Florida Senate. And I would appreciate that this motion be taken up and passed.
All right. Without objection, the reading clerk will read the resolution by title only.
Senate Resolution Number 2964, a resolution commending Leonard Weisinger for his accomplishments and outstanding leadership as president of the Broward County League of Cities.
Without objection, read for a second time by title only.
Senate Resolution Number 2964, a resolution commending Leonard Weisinger for his accomplishments and outstanding leadership as president of the Broward County League of Cities.
All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show the resolution passing. Senator Malcon is recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I would like to move to ask for unanimous consent to waive the rules and take up out of order Senate Resolution 3008 on trauma.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show that motion passing. The reading clerk will read the resolution by title only.
Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 3008, a concurrent resolution recognizing the serious nature of traumatic injuries and designating April 18th, 1990 State Trauma Day.
Without objection, read the resolution a second time by title only.
Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 3008, a concurrent resolution recognizing the serious nature of traumatic injuries and designating April 18th, 1990 State Trauma Day.
Senator Malcon.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're all aware that we have a very serious crisis in having lost over the last few years several of our level 2 trauma centers and are in danger of losing several more. We also know that the importance of getting people who are victims of trauma as a result of automobile accidents or other such things to a trauma care center within the first hour, that golden hour as we call it, results in a substantial savings in life and permanent injury. I would commend to all of the members of the Senate and staff, we will have on view in the Senate lounge immediately upon recess today and also on Thursday the tape of the half-hour special that was put on in the Tampa Bay area just a few weeks ago that fully explores this situation, and I would urge everybody to vote for the resolution and to go view the tape.
Senator Malkai moves the resolution. We need to open the board and allow a vote on Senate Concurrent Resolution 3008. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
33 yeas, no nays, Mr. President.
All right, reports of committee. Motions relating to committee reference. Senator Crenshaw.
I'd like to withdraw Senate Bill 490 from further consideration of the Senate. It's my bill.
All right, without objection, show that motion passing. Senator Margolis.
Mr. President, I'd like to withdraw Senate Bill 158 from appropriations.
Without objection, show that motion passing. Any further motions relating to committee reference? Messages from the governor. Messages from the House. Matters on reconsideration. Take up the special order calendar. Before we do that, Senator Donnell Childers is recognized.
Mr. President, I would like to move to withdraw Senate Bill 138 from further consideration. It is my bill.
Okay, you've heard the motion without objection, show that motion passing. Senator Grizzle.
Mr. President, I would like to introduce former Senator Henry Saylor from St. Petersburg.
Senator Saylor?
Who's seat up to.
Welcome, Senator Saylor. Nice to have you this morning. Any matters relating to committee reference? Senator Scott, did you want to make a motion on the committee meetings this afternoon, or do that later? Okay, take up the special order calendar.
A bill to be entitled an act relating to wrongful death. Senate Bill number 324, a bill to be entitled an act relating to wrongful death.
Yes, Senator Weinstein.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the wrongful death bill that we passed last year. It made it through the Senate. It died on the House calendar last year, and I've filed it again. What this bill would do would be to allow the parents of adult children to recover for non-economic damages and adult children to recover for the loss of their parents when a wrongful death occurs and there's no other heir. I can give you one example, if I may, to the members of the Senate who may be interested. There was a very bad fire in Miami Beach just last week, and I received a phone call from someone who wanted to know why that they could not bring an action to recover damages for the loss of their parent who lived at that hotel. And I told them, well, because we haven't changed the law yet. So this would allow a change in the law for non-economic damages for the loss of either an adult child or for the loss of a parent when there is nobody else who can file an action. There is Senator Dudley has an amendment. I'd like it to go through the amendatory process, Mr. President.
Take up and read the First Amendment.
First Amendment, Senator Dudley, on page 2, lines 11 through 18, strike all of said lines and insert defined by section 766.106, section 1.
Right, on the amendment. Any questions on the amendment? Is there debate? Senator Gardner, then Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. What does this amendment do?
Mr. President, if I may answer the question, Senator Dudley, with your permission, this is an agreed amendment which would remove all malpractice cases, including hospital, physician, dentist, and any malpractice as defined in the statute. It's a very broad definition.
If I could continue, Mr. President, I'm looking at the bill without the amendment, and the bill has exemptions in here for malpractice for physicians and hospitals and osteopaths, and I think it includes dentists and pharmacists. Who else is being added to this list of exclusions?
Right. If I can get the President's attention, I'll be
Okay,
happy.
Senator Dudley's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Gardner, to answer your question, what the amendment does is put a period on line 11 after the reference to 766.106, so the exemption as to medical malpractice stays in, but it would include all claims for medical malpractice, not just those against these special listed areas here, such as hospitals and osteopaths and pharmacists. It would be all medical malpractice claims.
Why? Why are we putting these exclusions in there?
Well, I think you have to first perhaps address the issue of should the medical malpractice claims be excluded. If that's your question, then we can address that. But my amendment doesn't go to that question. My amendment goes to the question of why should we limit that exclusion just to certain health care providers and not to other health care providers. So by inserting the period there, we're leaving in the exclusion for all malpractice claims, but we're not limiting that exclusion to only certain health care providers, but instead allowing that to flow to any provider of health care. For example, optometrists are not excluded under this. There are many, many other health care providers. I think there are some 27 that are licensed by DPR. By putting the period there, by adopting this amendment, it doesn't limit that exception just to certain health care providers. It includes all of them.
Maybe I don't know who to ask the question to. Why are we providing any exclusions from wrongful death in this bill? I don't understand why we're doing that.
Mr. President.
Senator Weinstein's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to answer Senator Gardner's question. The reason that was done is because, whether real or imagined, there has been in this state a crisis in the area of medical malpractice. And I say real or imagined because some people claim that it's real, some claim it's imagined, but all recognize that for the purpose of making sure that this does not become an issue that might create a further problem in delivering medical care, it was determined that this is not the area of greatest loss and should not be part of the bill. As far as the insurance costs, we did not want to do that and create any problem in the medical malpractice insurance area, Senator Gardner.
Are any further questions? Senator Gordon.
Yeah, on the amendment, is that Senator Dudley's amendment? Senator Dudley? What about other forms of malpractice, like attorney malpractice?
Well, I think
suppose you get electrocuted because you're a bad defense lawyer. Could a kid sue the lawyer for the bad defense?
Well, I
don't understand why you're excluding yourself and Senator Langley and others who might very well fall within the ambit of your possibility.
I would like to answer.
Well, Senator Langley and I, of course, support the death penalty, Senator Gordon, so that may answer that question. I really don't think this has anything to do with lawyer malpractice. Medical malpractice is defined in the statute. But however, Senator Gordon, if you want to offer a substitute amendment to include attorneys in the laundry list here, I might support that.
I'll think about it.
Any further questions of the sponsor?
Of the bill, and I would move the passage of this particular amendment.
All right, debate on the amendment. Senator Gardner is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to commend Senator Dudley for his concern and Senator Weinstein for their concern in the area of medical malpractice insurance, because that is a very substantial cost to doctors. And I'm going to support this amendment because I think it is a good amendment. But in return, I would hope that you would support my amendment, which is going to be on the desk next, because that includes small business. And the reason for that is that there's a substantial problem in things called errors and omissions insurance, where people who have to carry that insurance have higher premiums than most medical practitioners. Most medical practitioners. Most people don't know that. So I hope you'll be willing to support my amendment to also exempt small business, which also has the same problem.
Senator Dudley.
Senator Gardner, this is my dime. I'll accept your vote, but you'll have to earn mine.
On the amendment as offered, amendment number 1, all those in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Show it passing. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Gardner on page 2, line 10, strike for and insert against small or minority businesses as defined in section 288.703 R4.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, there's sometimes we do things that are right, and sometimes we do things that are smart. Sometimes we do things that are right, and sometimes we do things that are smart. This reminds me of the tax on services a couple of years back. We did the right thing, perhaps, but we didn't do the smart thing. If we had taken advertisers out of that, that would have been the smart thing to do, and it might still be here, and we wouldn't have the budget problem we've got. I would submit to you that the exemptions that we've got so far may not be the right thing to do, but they're the smart thing to do because they'll help the bill pass. You may remember this comment from last year: when you're dead, you're dead. It don't make any difference whether it was a result of malpractice or whether it was some guy in a pickup truck that ran over you at an intersection. When you're dead, you're dead. And if it was done wrongfully, it's just as bad if you got an injection of formaldehyde in your veins by an anesthesiologist or whether you were run over by a delivery man with a pickup truck. We tend to shift the load to small business continually. And unless you are a small businessman and you have to worry about making that payroll every week or every 2 weeks or every month or whenever you pay, and you have to worry about all the government regulations and so forth that we put on small business that loads them down, you don't really have an understanding. Small business has a real problem with insurance premiums and meeting those requirements every month. And I think it's only right that we also provide this exclusion for small business if we're going to include a laundry list in the medical profession.
On the amendment by Senator Gardner, Senator Weinstein.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, Senator Gardner talked about being right and being smart. Well, he certainly is very smart, and my good friend Senator Gardner is often right, except this time. And the reason is that this particular amendment will gut the bill. And let me just give you one example of what this bill would do and explain to you why his amendment would gut it. Let's say a woman spends all of her time working at a very menial job, raising a son or a daughter, putting them through college, helping them on their way to a successful career, and at age 26 or 27, saddled with thousands of dollars in tuition and bills and loans to put that child through college, that child is struck down by an automobile. That parent would be precluded under the current Florida statutes from suing. Now, certainly they could sue for a loss for economic loss, but the parent is the one who incurred all those debts, and they would be the one who would still be obligated to pay them, even though that child might have been about to embark on a very successful career and help pay all those bills. So this is a very real bill with very real problems, with very real situations that the citizens of Florida have to face. If you were to exempt small and minority business, you would say to the average citizen, if you are the person who happens to be driving that pickup truck, and that pickup truck is registered in the name of John Jones, you're still liable. But if that pickup truck is registered in the name of John Jones Incorporated and he qualifies as a small business, you're no longer liable. Now, if that's fair and if that's right, then obviously we're talking about two separate bills. It makes no sense, and there's absolutely no logic in exempting somebody just because they create a small business or form a corporation.
On the amendment, Senator Gardner to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I probably know the outcome on this amendment, but I would frame that same story, which is indeed a heart-rending story. I would frame that same story, except the death didn't take place from a pickup truck. The death took place when that individual went to the dentist office to get a tooth filled and received a massive overdose of anesthesia. And y'all may have read about that happening not too long ago here in Florida. The patient died. He's just as dead. He's just as dead. So I guess I would have to ask Mr. Weinstein if the other exclusions are the right thing to do or the smart thing to do. I think this is only fair. This amendment's only fair.
On the amendment by Senator Gardner, all those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Show it defeated. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Bankhead, on page 2, line 17, strike or and insert organizations that qualify under section 501, paren C, paren 3, or section 501, paren C, paren 6, Internal Revenue Code, or.
Senator Bankhead.
Mr. President and fellow members of the Senate, this would merely exempt organizations like chambers of commerce and other kinds of business organizations, and also our standard not-for-profit charitable kinds of organizations. Now, these organizations do a great work in the community. The public generally benefits from the contribution of these organizations to society, and this is going to make an inordinate burden on those kinds of organizations that do contribute so much to our society.
The questions of Senator Bankhead. Senator Dudley.
Mr. President, if he would yield.
Yes, he yields.
Senator Bankhead, your amendment goes to a section of the bill that was stricken earlier in the amendment that I offered. And I'm wondering now if you would consider at least taking the time to correctly draft your amendment if it's necessary at all.
Well, I guess I ought to do that.
I would suggest that.
Thank you. I did not realize that your amendment had stricken that portion of the bill. Perhaps I could enlist your assistance in properly drafting this amendment.
I'll be happy to assist you in drafting before I vote against it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Show that amendment temporarily passed. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Bankhead, on page 2, line 17, and
show it temporarily passed without objection.
And the next one.
And the next one withdrawn without objection.
By Senator, okay, just thank you. Okay. By Senator Davis, on page 2, line 13, after the words section 627.306, paren 1, paren D, or paren E, and insert a facility license pursuant to Chapter 400 or its parent, subsidizing or managing agent.
Senator Davis.
I'd like to withdraw that amendment. It was taken care of by Senator
Okay,
Dudley's
without
amendment.
objection, show that amendment withdrawn. Any further amendments?
None on the desk, Mr. President.
Okay. Senator Weinstein.
Yeah, I'd like to move the bill if Senator Bankhead is, I don't know if he's going to refile those amendments or not. He just hit him back there in the bubble, so.
Senator Weinstein moves the rules be waived and that Senate Bill 324 be taken and read for a third time by title only.
I think we have two pending amendments. I don't know if he withdrew them or wants to, refile them or not. Maybe he could answer. Excuse me, he wants to refile them? All right, well, Mr. President, my only concern is that we're going to take up the transportation package, and I really don't want to run out of time on this bill.
Okay, Senator Langley.
Yeah.
We try to show senatorial courtesy in letting a senator work with an amendment like that, but I share Senator Weinstein's concern about moving on to the big transportation bill. So let me give you a recent letter I got in my office from a case that makes this bill so relevant and important. Senator Bankhead's not here, but statistically it's barely even quantifiable what effect this has on insurance, because these cases are never reported because they have no cause of action because of the current law. Letter here is from a young lady whose brother named Mark was down in the Central Florida area in Kissimmee, Mr. President, close in your district, I guess, or close to it, Senator Peterson's district. He was put into he was Baker acted there and put into a mental health unit. He begged them not to release him. In fact, told them, if you release me, I'll know that I will kill myself. His parents up in Wisconsin contacted the center, told them they were on their way down to pick up their son, who was 26 years of age, and it would take them about 2 days to get there. In spite of that, and that was in writing as well as by telephone through the local psychiatrist, in spite of that, the center released Mark early one morning. He had a car there. They released him. He took off in his automobile to go to Wisconsin. He got 3 speeding tickets between Orlando and Wisconsin, including 105 miles per hour on the highway, passing on the right in the emergency lane, and reckless driving. He got to Wisconsin. His folks weren't there, so he decided to drive to Las Vegas. He got to Las Vegas, and his friend wasn't there, so he went out and bought a shotgun and went back to his motel room and blew his brains out. And because he was 26 years of age, although he had a college education, a good future, although he had mental problems at the time, there's absolutely no recovery for that young man through his family or anybody else. He's 26, he's unmarried, he doesn't have any value in our society. That also means if to those who provide health care, they don't really have any responsibility for him, because there's no repercussions if they do even intentionally do the wrong thing. Not that they would, but in this case, there was just no care given to the kid. And that's a case that she had talked to several lawyers here in Central Florida, and were told properly by them, there's no case, I'm sorry. And she just wrote me to tell me she thinks it's a very poor law in the state of Florida for someone to have no value whatsoever. So we need this bill, and the exceptions that we have made, we can live with, but we certainly don't need to broaden them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Gerardo for introduction.
And Mr. President, members of the Senate, I have a couple of introductions to make at this time, and I think this is quite timely, in as much as we need a little time for Senator Bankhead to redraft his amendments. In the West Gallery, I have some special guests here today, one of them, which is my brother, and his wife, who is his new bride of some months. After a separation of something like 20-some years, they remarried. My brother Emmett and his wife, Canary, and with him is his very close friend, who was also a former employee of the Department of Agriculture, who has since retired, and his wife. They are here on a special occasion because they are on the eve of their anniversary as far as their marriage is concerned. So will the 4 of you stand in the West Gallery and be recognized by the Senate?
Let's welcome them to the Senate this morning.
Thank you.
All right, Senator Bankhead, are you prepared?
I think I am at
Read
this
the
point.
next amendment.
By Senator Bankhead on page 2, line 11, or after section 766.106, paren 7, and insert or against organizations that qualify under section 501, paren C, paren 3, or section 501, paren C, paren 6, Internal Revenue Code, or.
This does what I explained to you before. It exempts charitable nonprofit organizations and also business organizations like the Chambers of Commerce and so forth. I'm not sure that we ought to be subjecting those kinds of organizations to the provisions of this bill in light of their contribution to the community and to society at large, and to the negative impact it's going to have on their ability to function.
Senator Weinstein, then Senator Gerardo.
Thank you, Mr. President. While this is a very worthy idea of Senator Bankhead, it certainly does not smack of fairness to me, because what we would be saying is you are liable if you strike and kill somebody who is over the age of 25, who leaves parents, a wife, and children, because then they certainly could recover the damages. But if you just leave the parents and the person's over the age of 25 and he's not providing economic support, then they would lose their cause of action. So in reality, we've demonstrated that the law as it presently exists, without the change we're going to pass today, is grossly unjust, and this would just be perpetuating it for one group of people. And while we all care about 501c3 organizations, many of whom do great work without which none of us could function, they are liable now under the general liability laws, and they would only retain this exemption, which would make them participants in a very unfair and improper practice. So I certainly would urge you to vote no on this amendment.
Any further questions or debate on the amendment by Senator Bankhead? Senator Bankhead to close.
There are other exemptions in this bill. Certainly the organizations I've enumerated are as worthy as the others who are exempt, and I would ask you to support the amendment.
On the amendment by Senator Bankhead, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Show it defeated. Any further amendments?
None on the desk, Mr.
Senator
President.
Weinstein moves rules be waived and Senate Bill 324 be taken up and read for a third time by title only. Without objection, read the bill.
Senate Bill number 324, a bill to be entitled Act relating to wrongful death.
Clerk will unlock the machine and members will proceed to vote on Senate Bill 324. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
31 yeas, 6 nays, Mr. President.
So the bill passes. Read the next bill.
Senate Bill number 268, a bill to be entitled Act relating to unemployment compensation.
Senator Jennings.
Mr. President and Senators, this is a bill that we had last year. It is a clarification that when you receive unemployment and you are called for jury duty, as you know right now under the unemployment statutes, if you are not actively seeking employment on a regular basis, you are disqualified. At the same time, if you receive compensation in other ways, it is deducted from your unemployment. This was requested by the Clerks Association because they don't know how to deal with jury duty. On a strict interpretation, jury duty means you're not actively seeking employment and you're receiving compensation, so you lose your unemployment. It is a clarification saying that jury duty does not do that to your unemployment compensation. We're talking about probably 3 days at the most. One way or another, the clerks need an interpretation of how they handle it.
Any questions of Senator Jennings? Any amendments on the desk?
None on the desk, Mr. President.
Move the bill.
Senator Jennings moves the rules to waive Senate Bill 268 be taken up and read for a third time by title only and placed on final passage. Without objection, read the bill.
Senate Bill number 268, a bill to be entitled Act relating to unemployment compensation.
Clerk will unlock the machine and members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
38 yeas, no nays, Mr. President.
So the bill passes. Read the next bill.
Senate Bill number 354, a bill to be entitled An Act relating to the Savannah State Reserve.
Senator Myers is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, nestled up in Martin and St. Lucie County on the border of both counties is a little piece of heaven, to be very frank with you, a very unique marshland that the state has been trying to purchase bit by bit for quite a few years. Meanwhile, people have been taking all kinds of riding instruments like your ATVs and other vehicles and just chewing up everything in there because there are no rules. What this bill does is set some rules for vehicles in that area to use only trails of ingress and egress. And also because there's been some accidents in there and there's only rare species of animals in there, this bill also prohibits any hunting within that particular area. Be very frank with you, this little bit of heaven is surrounded by development, so it'd be a little funny to have hunting in there. So what this bill does is set up some guidelines, and then as you know, the Game and Freshwater Commission usually has the hunting orders for a particular preserve that the state has. There is none for this one, and so this bill would take the place of that until that time when the Game and Freshwater Commission takes care of it.
Thank you, Senator Myers. Any questions of the sponsor of the bill? Any amendments on the desk?
None on the desk, Mr. President.
Senator Myers moves the rules be waived and Senate Bill 354 be taken up and read for a third time by title only and placed on final passage. Without objection, read the bill.
Senate Bill number 354, a bill to be entitled An Act relating to the Savannah State Reserve.
Clerk will unlock the machine and members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
37 yeas and no nays, Mr. President.
So the bill passes. Senator Dudley.
Mr. President, I have a brief introduction. 17 students, juniors and seniors from Fort Myers Cypress High School are here this week participating in the close-up program. They're right here above me, and if they would stand up and we could recognize them, I would appreciate it.
Welcome to the Senate. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I have a motion relating to the schedule today and a couple of other motions.
Please read the motions.
Okay. Mr. President, I move that the provisions of Senate Rule 2.6 relating to publication of notice in the calendar for committee meetings be waived and the following schedule announced. The Commerce Committee today will meet at 1 o'clock instead of the previously scheduled 2 o'clock from 1 to 2:30 in Room A to consider the agenda published in today's calendar. Corrections Committee be allowed to meet from 1 to 2:30 in Room B to consider the agenda published in today's calendar. And the EPUR committee meeting will be canceled. And these changes are to allow members of the Senate to attend the memorial services for Thomas A. McPherson, Jr. So everybody please take note.
Please note the motion.
Need to have that voted.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show it passing. Please take special note of those meeting changes. Senator Kirkpatrick.
Yes, Mr. President. I just real quickly would like to have an opportunity to introduce some very important people of mine from Dixie, Levy, Gilchrist County Realtors that are sitting up here in the audience up here. We're glad to have you with us today.
Please stand up. We'd like to welcome you to the Senate. Senator Scott.
Mr. President, I have a couple of other motions while we're I move that Senate Bill 568 be withdrawn from regulated industries. It now goes to finance and tax. And I also move that to withdraw from HRS Senate Bill 1798 and Senate Bill 2266, and that they be re-referred to the Health Care Committee, which is a more proper reference.
All right. You've heard those motions without objection. Without objection. All right, Senators, we're now ready to take up committee substitute for Senate Bill 2862 by the Committee on Transportation and Senator Beard and others. This is the transportation package. Please give Senator Beard your undivided attention. This is the transportation package that Senator Beard and others have worked long and hard on. I know all of you have a keen interest in transportation. The solution to this state's problems lies within the bill that's going to be before you. I know the path seems unclear at this point as to how we're going to totally accomplish this. But if you will stay the course with Senator Beard and myself and the other members of the transportation committees, we're going to do our best to build some roads for this state and for your constituents. Senator Beard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senators, this bill is a comprehensive transportation package for this session. Most of the issues contained in this piece of legislation have been passed out of this Senate several times, both during the special session and the last general session of this legislature. The bill was a product of really Senator Brown introduced the bill at the joint legislative session. This is, we work with the House and our staffs work very closely together to put this bill before us today. The bill increases various taxes and fees needed to fund the needed transportation projects. These increases would yield approximately $600 million per year over the next 5 years. And based upon an agreement worked out with the Joint Select Committee on Transportation, this revenue would be allocated as follows. $175 million would be used to fund preservation of the current system. $175 million would be used to fund enhanced construction, including programming projects which were deleted during the cash crunch. $150 million would be used to fund the Florida Intrastate Highway System, which is a new statewide system of limited access and controlled access facilities. And 100 million would be used to fund public transportation projects, including 30 million for aviation, 30 million for public transit, 20 million for rail, 10 million for access roads, and 10 million for ports, at seaports. In addition, the bill also provides 9 turnpike projects, 15 interchanges, and the acquisition of the Sawgrass Expressway. Now, these projects would be funded through a combination of turnpike revenues, transportation trust fund monies, and bond proceeds. The department would be authorized to issue a maximum of $1.1 billion in bonds to use a maximum of $425 million in new revenue over the next 5 years to fund these projects. However, no project will be funded unless it is determined to be economically feasible as well as environmentally feasible. The bill also authorized the issuance of $500 million in bonds for the advanced acquisition of right-of-way. This is an implementation of the Amendment 4 proposition that the people of Florida voted for. This money would be divided between 2 programs. $300 million would be used to buy right-of-way 3 to 4 years in advance of construction, and $200 million would be used to buy right-of-way at least 5 years in advance of construction. The bill prohibits using any of these bond proceeds on turnpike projects. The bill also makes changes to various programs within the department, and most of them, all of them, are designed and directed at further establishing and the credibility of the Department of Transportation, and allow the Senate and the legislators to better monitor the expenditures over there and not get into some of the problems that we've experienced recently. I think we've all worked toward that end, and I think this bill helps accomplish that. And with that, we're prepared to hopefully to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Beard. And with that explanation, Senator Beard moves the rules be waived. Without objection, the bill be read for a second time by title only. Without objection, read the bill.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill number 2862, a bill to be entitled an act relating to the transportation needs of Florida.
All right, thank you, Senator Beard. Any questions of Senator Beard? Senator Childers, Donnell.
Senator Beard, on the Sawgrass Expressway, would you explain exactly what is involved with that system there?
Can you help me on that?
What's happening is that subject to economic feasibility.
Senator Foreman.
Senator Foreman takes the floor and yields to that question. Senator Foreman.
It basically says, subject to the verification of economic feasibility, the Florida Department of Transportation will acquire the Sawgrass Expressway. Now, back in 1988, there was a bill passed in the legislature that year, which, of course, was signed into law that in effect would happen. It has not happened yet. This puts that transfer, into law, the purchase of the Sawgrass Expressway by DOT.
Senator, does that mean then that if the state, after this feasibility study, if they determine that it's not feasible for the state to buy that, then the state will not buy that? Is that correct?
That is correct.
What happened to the problem that they had of the tremendous amount of cost overrun in that project? Does this mean that if we have a system that the state really had no control over, whenever that road was built, it was built by the Expressway Authority of Broward County.
Right.
And if that was not feasible then, and now all of a sudden we're saying to the state, you run another study to see if it's feasible now for the state to pick up that project, which is not paying for itself, and it may not pay for itself for 15 years down the road.
Okay.
In other words, we're going to utilize millions of our dollars that we need in other projects to pick up this project in Broward County. Is that what we would be doing?
Okay. It has to meet the 15-year economic feasibility test or the deal is not entered in. Also, you know, we're going to work out a deal with the debt service in a situation also. But if it doesn't initially pass that 15-year feasibility test, it may not get acquired. Now, also, if you look into the projections of the Sawgrass Expressway in future years, as the years go by, more and more riders are on that road and more revenues being collected. So you might have had a bigger gap in the early years, but you have a much smaller gap in the later years. And by some estimates, by the mid-1990s or mid to later 1990s, that road may be financially feasible. So if it's within the 15 years, Senator, it can pass the test.
All right, thank you, Senators. We're going to go ahead and take up the amendments, if that's your pleasure, Senator Beard. And, Senator, just one comment on the amendments. We have now 18 amendments on the desk. We'll take up all the amendments and certainly treat them fairly. This bill is the result of a joint committee recommendation and a committee recommendation. It is not a conference report, so it can be amended. Any substantial damage to this bill, I would guess, would send us probably into a conference and would produce a conference report on the floor that would not be amended, could not be amended. So I would urge you not to do serious damage to the bill or vote for an amendment that does do serious damage to this package. We will take up the amendments as they've been filed, and I urge your discretion as we adopt these amendments. Please read the first amendment.
By Senator Beard, on page 125, between lines 10 and 11, insert section 57, lengthy amendment.
Senator Beard.
Mr. President, this provides for the submission of an annual budget by the Center of Urban Transportation and Research. Urban Transportation Research at the University of South Florida was created here to be a resource for transportation needs. They've been utilized by the Department of Transportation, cities and counties throughout Florida, and even the federal government's called on them for some work. And this allows them to be included in the annual budget. It doesn't direct any appropriations.
Is there questions on the amendment? Senator Kirkpatrick.
Senator Beard, I'm not sure if I exactly understand. Would this then, these monies be appropriated by the legislature, or is this going around the legislative appropriations process?
It's a normal legislative appropriations process.
So these appropriations then, and are there any restrictions on this? In other words, this is not the only transportation research elements that we have
You
in the
have
state.
one at the University of Florida.
Will they be part of this?
No.
They will not. Is there some reason that there's just limited to the University of South Florida Transportation Center?
Well, they do it. The research done at the University of South Florida is a material, testing material that goes into road building and whatever construction. This is a research on transportation, urban transportation, and it's the only one in the southeastern part of the United States. The closest one, urban transportation center, is at Rice University in Houston. It's something we created about 3 years ago, and it's been funded through the Department of Transportation's fund. I've tried to get it moved to the Board of Regents. I haven't been able to do that yet.
Okay, so is there any reason why then we couldn't include the materials research in this same process?
You want to move the University of Florida to South Florida? Is that what you want to do?
What we want to do is there any reason why we can't include the materials research process? All of the transportation research, if it's good for one, it looks like it'd be good for all of it. I'd like to see it all moved in there.
Well, I don't think it would be a good idea, Senator. It's unrelated, really, what they're doing.
The materials are unrelated to the highway construction?
It's not the highway construction. This is planning for the mass transit, the buses and the trains and that sort of thing, and traffic control and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator. Any further questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show it passing. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Beard on page 191, line 19 through pages 192, line 3, strike all of said lines.
Technical amendment. Technical amendment. Without objection, show it passing. Read the next amendment.
Okay. On page 32, line 23, after acquire, insert the assets and assume the liabilities of.
Senator Baird. Senator Foreman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, basically what this does in the section about by the state taking over the Sawgrass Expressway, after acquire, it just states that acquire the assets and assume the liabilities. I ran this concept through the Secretary of Transportation. This morning, he does not object to it.
Any questions of the sponsor? Is there objection? Is there objection? Show the amendment passed without objection. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Foreman on page 33, lines 2 through 3, strike subject to economic feasibility verification, and insert the.
If you read on page 32, the entire proposal is subject to economic feasibility and verification anyway. You don't need, I think it's redundant language. You don't need to repeat it twice.
Senator Dudley.
If the gentleman would yield just to, as a matter of intent here, in striking the phrase economic feasibility in this second amendment, it is still to the section 4 on page 32, which is all of which is still subject to verification of economic feasibility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that is your intent.
Without subject to verification of economic feasibility, you can't get the proposal done.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Senator Donnell Childers.
Mr. President, on this verification of the feasibility study on the Sawgrass Expressway, Senator, I go back to, and I think it probably connects with this amendment, but I go back to the previous page, 32, line 21 through 23, and that includes the feasibility study. And then it says, beginning on line 22, says that the department shall acquire the Sawgrass Expressway. Now, I would assume that we should have the word may acquire. Why would we put the word shall in that language in there?
Well, because basically what was done in 1988 when the legislature passed the Bill of Transition, and it has not been done yet. This puts it in the 1990 bill and mandated to be done. It can only be done, however, if the figures come out right, Senator. So, you know, and also, I'll tell you something else, Bill, about the history of the Sawgrass Expressway. When it was built originally, it counted on the state to have the interchanges at I-595 and I-75 completed, and the one up at 10th Street completed. Those interchanges didn't come in for years, and as a result of that, for several years, the traffic and the revenue stream wasn't the way they should, because the Expressway Authority relied on the state of Florida to get those interchanges to the expressway built. You know, this was a done deal 2 years ago. It hasn't been done yet, and it's readdressed in this bill to make sure it's done if DOT, through these actions, is made more financially whole.
Mr. President, Senator, are we saying then that on each one of these projects is the word shall verification, if it's economically feasible?
They shall do that because of the 1988 deal, Senator Childers, subject to the economic verification. If the figures come out right, the state shall take over the Sawgrass Expressway.
Senator Gordon.
Couldn't be more clear.
Mr. President, with Senator Yield for further question. It doesn't say that, does it, Senator Foreman? It doesn't say that if the feasibility works out, they shall. It just says shall. I think Senator Childers has a point. Which do you mean?
I mean, subject.
As if I didn't know, right?
It means if the economic feasibility comes out, you know, in the positive, Senator Gordon, if it meets the 15-year test, the state shall acquire it. Yes, shall.
Well, when you figured the feasibility, you said that the state was going to pick up the costs back to a date, July in 87 or 86.
1988. July 6, 1988.
But that in the feasibility study, you weren't to count the costs that were picked up back to 88. You're just going to start from now on. Why are we switching dates on the feasibility?
That date was passed by the legislature in the 1988 session, Senator Gordon, and it's put in again here for the second or the third time. That was originally the bill that passed in 1988 when Broward County started broaching the issue with DOT that the state would purchase the Sawgrass Expressway.
And if I understood your rationale before, the state hadn't built the interchange at 75 on schedule, and that's what made the Sawgrass a financial liability to Broward County.
That's exactly correct.
And so now, in order to get out from under that financial responsibility, you want the state to buy the road if it turns out that the tolls will pay the debt.
Okay.
Under those circumstances, I don't understand why you want us to buy it, because if the tolls are going to pay for it, you might as well keep it.
I'll give you another reason. The tolls aren't going to be paying for it probably till the middle or later 1990s, but subject to that 1988 law, the Broward County Commission anticipated $7 million a year of the 80% 5th and 6th cent gas tax money coming into Broward County, and that money had not, the first dollar has not been paid to Broward County yet. They're out some $11 or $12 million at this present time, waiting for the state to honor the 1988 law. Now, you can build a lot of roads or put a lot of buses on the road with that money, Senator, and I'm sure you agree.
Well, I just want to comment to you, Senator, that Broward County sold the turnpike receipts much too cheaply, and they sold ours in Palm Beach counties as well, and I think it was and is a very bad deal.
Senator
Kirkpatrick.
Senator Foreman, what is the total cost to the taxpayers of the state of Florida now for this road that's already built, that we're going to build out of this package, that we're going to try to build some new roads?
It cost Broward County about $11 or $12 million, Senator Kirkpatrick, anticipating money coming from DOT, which it hasn't gotten yet. That's one thing.
How much is it now going to take out of this package? In other words, we're raising $600 million to build some new roads, and right off the top, we're going to buy an old road that's already built. So I don't think anybody's going to see any new roads until we get through buying the old roads. So I'm just wondering how much we're going to have to spend on the old roads before we get to building the new roads.
Okay. This comes out of the turnpike package, Senator Kirkpatrick. It has nothing to do with the $600 million motion plan.
Well, how much are we going to pay for it, Senator?
About $10 million a year.
$10 million a year for how long?
Until it's, what did you say? Until the bonds are paid off.
And how long would that be?
I think that would be 2010, something like that, 2014.
2010, so
but,
that's
you know,
10, that's 20 years times 10 million, is that what you're saying?
Well, you know, it's, you know, the bonds, if the road is financially feasible, you know, back in, let's say, in the late 1990s, there'll be revenue coming in to pay off, to sweeten the pot and make the economic picture much brighter. But this is a road that Broward County built. They anticipated the state helping them out. The help has never come yet, and it's been an obligation of the state of Florida to do this for 2 years.
Well, but Senator, we have lots of things that come through the legislature that we try to get done. What I'm saying is, I imagine the reason that it hadn't been done in the past is because of the tremendous expense. I just don't. To take $10 million a year off the top of the transportation funding, even if it's the turnpike money, we're going to take tolls off of other roads to go and buy this old expressway? Is that what you're saying? Somebody help me out here.
Okay.
Is that right?
It's going to cost approximately $10 million a year, but economically, the picture is going to get brighter as more and more cars get on there, Senator Kirkpatrick. But this has been, like I said before, an obligation of the state for the last 2 years to do this. This was signed into law in July 1988. Okay. Broward County's out about 11 or 12 million.
All right. So just to clear it up, then, Senator, what would be the source of funds to purchase this road?
This would be turnpike funds, sir.
And what would that be, from tolls on other turnpikes?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any further questions on the amendment offered by Senator Foreman? All those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Show it passing. Read the next amendment. All right, let's vote again. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Show it passing. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Crenshaw, on page 46, line 27, After authority, insert which shall be an agency of the state.
Senator Crenshaw.
Mr. President, Senators, this simply makes it clear that one of the provisions in this bill is a separate bill that relates to the creation of expressway authorities, just in case this bill, for some reason, doesn't make it all the way to actually become law. There's some other bills that are traveling as part of this. This one particular provision in here allows 2 or more counties to get together to create their own expressway authority to actually build roads. And what this amendment does is simply make it clear that these authorities, if they are created, are going to be agencies of the state. That will allow them to use the Division of Bond Finance to actually issue debt. That's all it does.
Any questions of the sponsor? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Show the amendment passing. Read the next amendment.
By Senator Gardner on page 143, line 21, after the words, or the transportation of, and insert petroleum.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. This relates to a transportation corridor that we're looking into the feasibility of between the Orlando International Airport and Port Canaveral. This would preclude the use of a coal slurry pipeline in that utility corridor. We just don't want to do that.
Okay. Any questions of Senator Gardner on the amendment? Senator Beard.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?